All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High, God of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of the Son. I always count it a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach the word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. The title of today's message is An Empire in Decline. I talked about, and this is a fundamental principle in the Bible: you reap what you sow. That is true for an individual, and it is also true for a nation. And there comes a time to where the nation, the more sin and the more sin that it engages in, eventually judgment is poured out upon that nation. I want to share something with you, and I talk about this often. And this is from CBN, and this is certainly a religious media outlet. Notice what it says here: pro-abortion blowout warning for 12 states in November. The church needs to engage. Now, who the church is a whole nother issue. But nevertheless, this was published today. The right to life is back on the ballot, with up to 12 states expected to vote on whether to legalize abortion, including gruesome late-term and partial birth abortions. Current polls suggest pro-lifers could lose these battles. Advocates like Chelsea Yeoman with Human Coalition are calling for the church to step up and help support the right to life. Now I'm going to skip down a little bit and read this here. It says, despite bans in 14 states after the fall of Roe v. Wade, that was celebrated for people who were pro-life. The Guttmacher Institute, notice this, a pro-abortion policy group, reports abortion hit its highest rate in 12 years in 2023. So if you can wrap your mind around this, Roe v. Wade is overturned and abortions increase. That's what took place. Now, the abortion rate, I'm going to skip down a little bit. This is according to Yeoman. She says a main contributor is easy access to the abortion pill via mail. I did a message concerning that in that Supreme Court case not that long ago. She also flags a growing pro-abortion coalition with deep pockets contributing to the increase in abortions. Quote, the abortion rate was over 1 million children last year, that's 2023, said Yeoman, and 65% of that is done by the chemical abortion pill. So you didn't even need to go to a clinic. This speaks to the moral decay of the United States. You cannot kill, again, it's upwards of 65 million. You cannot kill 65 million babies through abortion and believe that judgment is not going to come. I want to read something here. And I've read often, I've written a book on it called Killing Black Innocence. I would encourage you to get that book. It deals with that because specifically when it comes to Black people, it's been genocide in regard to abortion, 20 million abortions. But let's pick it up here. I want to pick something up here in Psalms 139th division and verse 13. And I've done lessons on this. I encourage you to go find those lessons. There was over 2,000 videos on this page, but I would encourage you to go look for these lessons that deal with abortion. I've done a few, quite a few. Psalms 139 and verse 13. Notice what it says here. And this is a sweet psalmist David. He said, for thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. He's talking about the Lord. He said, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. The lowest parts of the earth is figurative language referring to the womb. See, life is sacred and the Lord is involved. And the fact that so many people are killing their children speaks to the moral decay of a nation. And with moral decay comes eventual decay of an empire. I want to pick this up in Jeremiah, the first chapter, and notice because you don't know who you're killing, right? To cure the cancer, you can be killing. So you don't know what contributions that person is going to make. You don't know what that person is going to do. There's sanctity in life. Some would say, well, you don't want the person to suffer because they might be poor. You know what would rectify that situation? Stop having these children out of wedlock. Stop laying down with any and everybody and getting pregnant, and then using birth control or abortion as a form of birth control. That would alleviate much of that. But now this is Jeremiah, the first chapter, chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, "Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." See, so he was ordained as a prophet. People have the potential. The greatest resource on this planet are people. The people are the greatest resource. And they push humanity forward. They push civilization forward. Oftentimes, like in the case of Jeremiah, they come with a message that can change the way in which we live and can change the circumstances. We benefit from the writings of Jeremiah even unto this day. Let's go to Galatians, the first chapter. Galatians 1. And we'll pick it up at verse 15. Paul, the Apostle Paul, who we've also benefited from so much. What does it say concerning him? "But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with the flesh and blood." So he was an apostle. And again, we benefit from his exposition of Torah, of the prophecies, and he showed us Christ further. All right. So that's a blessing. So he told you about and where did this one come from? He also came from the womb. Okay. So now let's pick it up in the gospel according to Luke. The gospel according to Luke, chapter 1 and verse 26. It says, "And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail, thou that art highly favored, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salutation this should be. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. And behold, thou shalt conceive and in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name," we say in English, Jesus. In Hebrew, it would be Yehoshua. Some say Yeshua. What is that? What is that telling? That means Yah is salvation. See, the one who came to save, even came into this earth through the womb of a woman. And all the while, they were trying to kill him. Okay? Moshe came through the womb of a woman. All the while, they were trying to kill him. See, what's happening right now is you have the mothers killing the children. It's similar to when they were sacrificing their children to Molech, making them pass through the fire. You are sacrificing your children on the altar of convenience. The baby is inconvenience, so you would sacrifice him for your own selfish needs, selfish wants, not even needs. This is Psalms. I'm going to pick it up in Isaiah, 49 and 15 and 14. Notice what it says here. It says, "But Zion said, The Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me." Then it says, "Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee." That's not how things should normally be. Normally, a woman would have compassion for a child that is conceived in the womb, but the women today do not. I don't hesitate when I say the women today I would argue in the Western world are the worst women to ever live. As far as generationally, they must be, I can't recall when you would kill this many children through abortion. That speaks to the morality of the women today and men. Don't get me wrong, but this is something that women directly can stop doing, but they refuse. They say it's their right. And really what this is the really, if you really want to understand, you should consider if you do not regulate procreation amongst women, what you have is the genocide that you have today, where you have, like for us as a people, just us specifically, we only are roughly 40 million in this country, and we have through abortion terminated or killed 20 million Black babies, what would equate to half of the population. There must be a change in values. And it is not time for soft talk. It is not time uh for pussyfooting or pacification. There's not time for any of that. You need some strong coffee. There needs to be a reformation of values within this country, within our people in particular, because what's going on again is a genocide. I want to pick it up here in Exodus, the 21st chapter. And I read this. I want to read it again just to show you from Torah that the life in the womb has personhood. This is Exodus, the 21st chapter, Exodus 21. And let's pick it up at verse 20. It says, and if a man smite, oh, excuse me, not 20, 22. Exodus 21 and 22. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. So according to Torah, if a man, two men got into a fight, and one of them, for what let's say he ran into the woman, or as he's tussling, he throws the woman down, trying to engage in this physical altercation, and the woman who was expecting, who was with child, goes into labor. Okay, because of that incident, and it says if no mischief follow, meaning if there's nothing wrong with the baby, he will still be held accountable for causing that woman to go into early labor. But he said, and if any mischief follow, meaning something did happen. It says, and if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life. So now, if the baby died because of that, that man was to die. What does that show you? There's sanctity in the womb. So why am I reading this? Again, because this is the greatest crime against humanity in recent years. You've never seen anything like to this magnitude, where you, in this short amount of years, where you kill 65 million babies. 65 million. Let's pick it up. There are countries that don't have that many people. Let's go to Daniel. Because again, at a certain point, judgment does take place. This is Daniel, the 5th chapter, Daniel 5, and let's pick it up at verse 25. So now this is with Belshazzar, okay? And he's having a good time drinking wine before the thousands, and he has a great feast. He has his wives and his concubines, and they drinking. He has the princes, and they're all drinking, and they want to drink out of the golden vessels that were taken from the temple, because they ransacked the temple, and this is a celebration. But then he saw the handwriting on the wall, right? And he was troubled, and they had to go find Daniel, the Israelite, the one who the Lord was dealing with, to know what was going to take place. And he said, and he told him, he said, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. It says, and this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Periods. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Okay, so now His kingdom came to an end. Just the Babylonian kingdom came to an end, just like all kingdoms come to an end. You're in the midst, if you can't see it every day, I think, quite frankly, this is not, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but in the way in which the current leader of this country, commander in chief, is operating right now, or failing to operate, unable to function properly, and they're straight gaslighting people, telling, the press secretary, saying nothing to see here. No, there's something to see. It's clearly evident that this man is not capable physically. It's almost seems to be like a type of abuse. It's clearly that he's not fully in control of his faculties. And the fact that you would still run, it shows you don't care about him, you don't care about the people. That's just the reality. But I think it is fitting, because I would say he is the embodiment of a waning empire on its way out. This is I want to pick something up here in Genesis, the 15th chapter, because there are principles in the Bible, and once you do certain things, understand, judgment will be your portion. You cannot kill 65 million babies through abortion. See, Roe v. Wade being overturned was an opportunity to stave off, like Nineveh did, to stave off the impending judgment. But America's finished. You can't keep doing this. This is Genesis, the 15th chapter. And I want to read something here in verse 12. This is a principle you see here. It says, when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. He's talking about his people his seed going into the land of Mizraim, or the land of Egypt. But notice what it says here, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. But when the iniquity of the Amorites was full, what happened? Israel took their land. See, that's why you read in Deuteronomy 7, verse 1, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land where thou goest to possess it, and cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites, and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. So now they got kicked out. You will read, they got kicked out because of sin. They were displaced because of sin. What do you think? This is an unrighteous nation. This is an unrighteous nation. And I just want to read a couple things to show you that, again, the handwriting is on the wall, so to speak. This is I'll pick it up here. This is from the one second. This is from an article titled by Paul Hoffman, U.S.-Saudi petrodollar pact ends after 50 years. The 50-year-old petrodollar agreement, right, this is Bretton Woods, right, between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia was just allowed to expire. The term petrodollar refers to the U.S. dollar's role as the currency used for crude oil transactions on the world market. This is one reason why the United States came to prominence. This is the reason also that if you ever try to get off the petrodollar, you get a good dose of democracy, okay? With the barrel of a gun, you'd be invaded, but nevertheless, or struck down in some capacity. So it says, this arrangement has its roots in the 1970s when the United States and Saudi Arabia struck a deal shortly after the U.S. went off the gold standard that would go on to have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. In the history of global finance, few agreements have wielded as many benefits as the petrodollar pact did for the U.S. economy. The petrodollar agreement, formalized after the 1973 oil crisis, stipulated that Saudi Arabia would price its oil exports exclusively in U.S. dollars and invested surplus oil revenues in U.S. Treasury bonds. In return, the U.S. provided military support and protection to the kingdom. This arrangement was a win-win situation for both. The U.S. gained a stable source of oil and captive market for its debt, right? While Saudi Arabia secured its economic and overall security. Oil being denominated in U.S. dollars alone has significance beyond the categories of oil and finance. By mandating that oil be sold in U.S. dollars, the agreement elevated the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. This, in turn, has profoundly impacted the U.S. economy. The global demand for dollars to purchase oil has helped to keep the currency strong, making imports relatively cheap for American consumers. Additionally, the influx of foreign capital into U.S. Treasury bonds has supported low interest rates and a robust bond market. Now, however, the potential to disrupt the global financial order. However, the petrodollar's dominance may be facing the most significant challenge yet. The agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia expired on June 9th, 2024. That was not that long ago, just over 10 days ago. This expiration has far-reaching implications as it has the potential to disrupt the global financial order. The shifting power dynamics in the oil market are a critical factor in this development. The rise of alternative energy sources such as renewables and natural gas has reduced the world's reliance on oil. Furthermore, the emergence of new oil-producing nations such as Brazil and Canada has challenged the traditional dominance of the Middle East. U.S. dollar's future. The petrodollar's expiration could weaken the U.S. dollar and, by extension, the U.S. financial markets. If oil were to be priced in a currency other than the dollar, it could lead to a decline in global demand for the greenback. This, in turn, could result in higher inflation, as if you need more inflation, higher interest rates, and a weaker bond market in the United States. Key takeaway. The expiration of the petrodollar agreement represents a significant shift in global power dynamics. So after World War II, you had two superpowers. You had the Soviet Union and you had the United States. The United States won the Cold War, right? But it's a type of Cold War that's been renewed. You're starting to see things that you didn't see before. For example, or you hadn't seen since the Cold War. For example, Russia just sent in warships to do military games, if you will, or they had in Cuba. That's just off the coast of the United States, right? You got spy balloons from China, right? You got police stations that China established in the United States with no one's. They didn't have authority other than the power to do it. You have constant espionage, right? You have constant reverse engineering of military equipment and other types of equipment. And you have the establishment of BRICS. Let's read this. This is from an article. This is 17 hours ago. Presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. blames U.S. for rising BRICS influence and global interest in joining alliance. So, his uncle was president during the Cold War, and you're starting to see some things. He said independent presidential candidate, you haven't seen since the Cold War. Independent presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. on Wednesday blamed the U.S. for the rising clout of BRICS. BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But there are many countries that are trying to ally with BRICS, right? An emerging markets alliance and the increasing interest among global nations to join the coalition, right? Reacting to a news story about 59 nations knocking at the doors of BRICS, Kennedy said this shouldn't be seen as a threat, but a wake-up call. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, he mulled over the reasons for many countries striving to exit the American sphere of influence. Notice what he says. 59, I'm going to read this. Well, I read here. The presidential candidate sees this as the result of the U.S. squandering its moral authority. They don't have it anymore. It's morally bankrupt. But he says through militarism, colonial style exploitation, and economic warfare. He also promised that if elected, he would work towards rectifying this. Okay, that's not going. Why it's important? The BRICS alliance, which originally they just say he won't be a part of the debate. He's not going to be president. I'd be shocked if he was president. But nevertheless, the BRICS alliance, which originally comprised Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, later went on to expand, adding Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates to its members list. It accounts for 45%. Look at this. BRICS, it accounts for 45% of the world population and over a quarter or 25% of the global GDP and represents a fundamental threat to the American economy, said Greg Zerzan, an attorney and former acting assistant secretary of the U.S. Treasury, in an article published in the Ripon Forum in April. All right. He noted that the coalition, through its new development bank set up in 2014, is trying to expand lending through Asia, Africa, and South America. And this institution is increasingly emerging as an alternative to the IMF and the World Bank. Okay, two robbers of nations, by the way. The BRICS is also toying with the idea of an alternate currency to the US dollar, currently the world's principal reserve currency. We just read that in another article. On the other hand, the US's dominant position on the global order is facing risk. The results of a multi-country survey by the European Council on Foreign Relations, which where all these American leaders get their marching orders from, by the way, historically, think tank and Oxford University published late last year show that, quote, many nations no longer feel they have to be aligned to just one major power. Many outside of the West value American and European ways of life, but they have doubts about whether the liberal society will survive. They expect the EU to fall apart within the next 20 years and the US to cease to be a democracy by the same time frame. Kennedy, who is contesting as an independent, is the distant third to Trump and Biden, the presumptive presidential candidates of the two major parties, according to the opinion polls. The 70-year-old candidate, a nephew of former President John F. Kennedy, is an environmental lawyer, anti-vaxxer, and conspiracy theorist. So, of course, they have to make him out to be, first of all, he's very intelligent. But they want to say he's an anti-vaxxer and conspiracy theorist, kind of like discounting him. But nevertheless, let's go here. This just happened. So this is from yesterday. This is New York Post. Russia agrees to come to North Korea's immediate defense if attacked after Putin meets Kim Jong-un. So when you saw like the Marshall Plan, right, and the emergence of NATO, what you saw later was the Warsaw Pact that the Soviet Union had with other Eastern Bloc nations. Here, their relationship has been rekindled, the one between North Korea and Russia, just like the one who in recent years between Russia and China has been rekindled. So Putin goes to North Korea. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un exchanged documents during a signing ceremony of the new partnership in Pyongyang, North Korea. A new agreement between Russia and North Korea reached by their leaders requires that countries to use all available means to provide immediate military assistance in the event of war. And so, like, people say, well, how could this be? Well, the United States has been giving Ukraine, which is that contest between Russia and Ukraine, they're like cousins, and this is something that's been going on for hundreds of years. United States is not going to be is in no position to really solve that, but you're fighting a proxy war. You're fighting against against Russia. At one point, you're saying you won't give any troops and you won't give any American weapons, but you will give them money. Well, you've been giving them billions of dollars in a losing effort, and now you started giving them weapons to fight Russia. So hey, they're getting weapons from North Korea. Oh, and by the way, look at these warships 90 miles off the coast of the United States. Not to mention the subs in the Pacific Ocean, right? This is a nuclear power. This is nothing to play with. But what you're starting to see is a waning empire. When I say that, I'm referring to the U.S. The North official Korean Central News Agency on Thursday reported the language of the comprehensive strategic partnership agreement reached by its leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Pyongyang on Wednesday. The agency said Article 4 of the agreement states that if one of the countries gets invaded and is pushed into a state of war, the other must deploy all means at its disposal without delay to provide military and other assistance. Unquote. So this is just something to think about while you on TikTok, China gave you, right? And you watching it, just finals just went off trying to figure out what you're gonna watch next. You need to be paying attention to what's going on in the world. Because you're living in an empire that is on the decline. That is for sure. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana, at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We also live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel. Again, that's 1 p.m. Central Standard